And a good afternoon to you. I'm Huey Poplock, and this is the Central Florida Computer Society. First part will be the Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group, or WinSIG. And this is Sunday, July 10th, 2022. Following the Windows Special Interest Group will be the main meeting of the Central Florida Computer Society, and our special guest speaker is Ron Brown, who's going to be talking about YouTube. So stay with us for both shows on the same link. So we're glad you're here. Let me go ahead and minimize this and stop sharing. Somebody's unmuted. Jerry, please stay muted.
I'm on the flash.
I'm going to have to knock him off if he doesn't, if that keeps doing that. Anyway, we're glad you're here. And the usual way we do this, let me share my screen again and make sure here. And I'm going to open up my Chrome. And let's see, move this a little bit. Full screen this, move this over here. All right, so this is my screen. We'll go to huey.net. And we'll go to the WinSIG page. And these are the items that I have scheduled for today. We may not cover all of them. We may skip a few. We may not do them in the same order. And we may end up doing some other things as well. But this is what I go by. And you're welcome to go to the page. And then within a day or so, just below it, like I did for last month, you'll see below will be the video link. And you can play the video right from this page and watch the show as well.
Keep baking grilled shrimp with your choice of super salad and an individual starter. All 3 courses for $18.99.
Stop my share.
Hurry into Red Lobster.
I have to remove that person. I'm sorry to do that, but I'm not going to report them. And then share my screen again. You kept unmuting and some kind of noise in the background. Don't think he was doing anything intentionally to disturb us, but it was just too much noise in the background. Anyway, okay, so let's take a look at the first item, which is 8 ways to personalize Windows. I'm going to move this down a little bit because I've got a menu at the top that is covering up. Let me make this bigger. And I want to show you something that I do is I have a extension on my Chrome, and it's called, let's see if I can find it again here, called Open Multiple URLs. When I click that, it opens it, and I have already put a list of all of the links to all of these items in there. All I do is copy and paste them in, and then I can click on Open URLs. When I click that, you'll see up here at the top, all of them are opening at the same time. And when I just move off of that, that goes away. But they start, and they're all now open. So I don't have to keep opening one after the other unless I close the whole thing down. So let's go to the first one, which is right here. And we'll make this larger. One of the things I sometimes do is I open up Print Friendly. Let's do that. And make it 130%. And a few simple tweaks can make your Windows 11 desktop stand out. So some of these things will work on Windows 10 as well, but this article happened to be by somebody who talked about Windows 11. One of the things is a custom wallpaper. If you'll notice in my on my screen, I use just a plain color in the background. And the reason I do that is so when I do these shows, I don't have something that's very distracting in the background. But what this article is saying is you can personalize this to whatever you want. And what you do is go to personalize the background. And in order to do that, what you can do is you go to your settings. Where's my settings button? And you find personalization. And then you go to background. And you'll see here in background, I can set the background to be any color. I make it blue. And but you can make it any color you want. But you can also notice here it's solid color. You can have a picture, you can make a slideshow, and you can have a Windows spotlight. When you do a picture, you can choose some that that Microsoft puts up for you, or you can choose your own. You can browse your photos and go to any that you want by clicking Browse Photos. It brings up my pictures folder. I don't know if I got something here I can quickly find. Well, let's just take this, for instance, and choose that picture. If I do that, and then we'll minimize here and minimize here, and you'll see that that's my background picture. Well, it's not a very good one because it's not a big picture and it's pixelating, but you get the idea. You can put any picture you want there. Let's see, this is settings we were looking at. You can put any picture you want, so you can take one of the ones that Microsoft puts up, and we'll do that. And so you can get a nice picture as well. And you can also, bringing back settings, you can set this up to be a slideshow, and you can find a folder and then say, okay, make that whole folder what I want to use, click on that, and then you can change the picture every 30 minutes or every hour or every 6 hours or every 10 minutes or even every 1 minute. I don't really make it uncomfortable, but you can be changing the picture all the time. And then you can shuffle the picture order. You can choose a fit, whether you want it to fit, whether you want to stretch the pictures, you want to tile it, you want to center them, you want to span it, and you can set it up any way that you want. I'm going to go back and I'm going to say not the slideshow, but we want a solid color. I'll get it back to where I have it. Now, one of the main reasons I don't do where I don't personalize my screen is I do a lot of these shows. As I say, I don't want to make it confusing, but I try to keep my computer generic. In other words, the way it is off the shelf or close to it, without getting too far off. So if someone contacts me and says, I'm having trouble with this, can you tell me what I can do to fix it? I can at least look at my screen and kind of go through it and try to figure out what may be the problem. Now, if you have a lot of people that help you with your computer, I don't recommend that you over personalize it. You can have some really weird colors and themes and everything else. We're going to talk about themes next. It makes it very confusing for somebody to try to help you if they can't find, because of the colors and the themes and so on. So be careful when you personalize these things. It can be a lot of fun, but it can be very distracting for someone who's trying to help you. But you can go into the settings, settings and personalization. And let's do that with theme now. I closed the settings. So we're going to go back to personalization. And then you go to themes. It's got a little arrow there, but if you click anywhere in that box, it will open it up. And they have several themes that you can choose from. You can get more themes from the Microsoft Store. So you can browse themes out in the store. This is real time, folks. And I have fast internet, but there are all kinds of themes that are available. A lot of them or most of them are free. There might be some that there's a cost, but you can have all kinds of themes, and it will give the colors and associate the colors with the buttons and so on to something that you might like. So that's one thing that you can do. I want to make sure I don't, this is the Microsoft Store, so we can close that. Or you can pick one of the ones that are there. I'm not going to do it because it's going to change everything, and I really don't want to go back to have it try to go back to it. And you can do desktop icon settings or things you can do. You can contrast your themes. So there's a lot of settings in personalization that you can do. Let's go back here. Under personalization, you can lock the screen, your touch keyboard, your start, and so on. So there's a lot of things that you can do, and we're going to cover maybe a couple more of those as well in this article. You can have a slideshow as a desktop background, which I just mentioned. You can change the font on your screen. And for somebody else to look at it, you'll get used to it. But for somebody else to sit at your computer and you change the fonts of the basics on the screen can really throw somebody for a loop. So be careful when you do this. But you can change to different fonts, but you can also make the fonts larger if you want. You can add fonts. You may find a font that you really like and you can change it. You can customize apps. Another great way to personalize Windows 11 is by using some of the best Windows customization apps. Good example of a customization app is Lively Wallpaper. It's a free app on the Windows Store that allows you to set GIFs, custom images, and even web pages as your desktop background. You can add apps to the taskbar. As you can see by my taskbar, I've got a lot of things that I've added to it. I think you can see it. It used to be I could move it around, but I really can't anymore in Windows 11. But I have some different apps there that would normally not be in the taskbar. And I showed you some of the personalizations, and there are personalizations in the taskbar. You can have your search on, your task view on, or turn them off. You can turn widgets off, and so on. This happens to be with a dark background, this screen capture that somebody else did. And I don't like screen captures with a dark background. I think it's harder for people to read. So I apologize, but that's in the article itself. But you've got a link to the article to take a look at it. Customize the start menu so you can change some things. And I've gone through some of those changes that you can do to your start menu in previous meetings. You can customize your system sounds and change your mouse pointer. You can see that my mouse pointer is, if you go, you can see it's a red hand and it's a little bit larger. And you, again, you can go into, let's see, let's get the article here and come back to settings. Personalization and your taskbar and your fonts, device usage, touch keyboard. Actually, I don't think the cursor is there. I think it's under your mouse. Let's see if that's where it is. Mouse pointer. You can change the color of your pointer, the size, what it looks like, and then you can change the size. You can see I have it set at size 3, but I can make it 12, and so it make it really big. Or you can make it back down to 1, and it's small. So I say I keep it about 3. And I have mine at red, and I have mine with the larger custom. So you can have just the little black, you can have the white. And so you can change your mouse to be whatever you want. And you can even change the shape, I believe, to the touch indicator. Do you want to show a circle on the screen where you touch it? Make the circle darker and larger. So let's do this. See, can I do that? Yeah, okay. So now, no, I don't think there we go. Yeah, I'm not sure what, that's the touch indicator, and I don't have touch on this. So it doesn't matter, I guess. But mouse speed, related settings, you can change the speed, lines to scroll at a time with your scroller, your mouse pointer speed, how fast it moves on the screen. If when you go to move your mouse and it moves too fast, you can slow it down, or if it kind of takes its time getting there, you can speed it up. And scroll inactive windows, when hovering on them, you can actually turn off the scroll bars and turn them on when you're not using them. And so let's see if there's anything else in this article. That's pretty much it for that article. So we've now covered one of the articles. We can close that one up. Let me stop share for a moment and see if there are any comments, questions, and then I can have an idea how many people are on. Okay. Any comments or questions? I guess it was pretty straightforward. So let's share the screen again. Steve Parker, before I do.
Yeah, what you were saying about the inactive ones with the scroll bars, what that does is when you're on a specific page and you've got another one showing in your background that you can see off to the side, you can move your pointer over to where that one is off the side, scroll your mouse up and down, and the one that's in the background will slide up and down.
Okay,
That way if you're comparing one page with another and you're reading down on the one on the right, say, you can then move your pointer over to it and scroll up and down so that it won't change the one that you've got in focus at the time.
Right. Yeah. But I have a problem when I go to if I switch windows, I want to be able to go to that scroll bar and it doesn't show. So I got to then move my mouse over it to find it again. So yeah, so there's some times you might want it, sometimes you might want it or not want it. And that's an individual. That's why they call it personalization.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's share again. Is Windows search too slow? Now, I don't know if you use Windows search, but if you do, it can be slow, and sometimes it doesn't find things you expect it to. That's because Windows has a database built into it that keeps track of where your files are. And so Windows search is meant to be fast and easy, an easy way to locate files. And if you can find your lost files before it can, here's how to, here is, let's see, let's take a look at this. Look at this, and we're at 130%. So Windows search makes finding your files and apps easy, a feat that would be difficult to do manually. However, sometimes Windows search takes a long time to find anything. This is one of the most common issues reported by users who upgrade to Windows 11. But I found it in Windows 10 was an issue sometimes too. One of the first things you want to do is shut down and restart your PC. And if you're having a problem with anything, especially with speed, but if you're having a problem with anything, the first thing you want to do before you start making changes is go ahead and restart your computer. Don't shut it down and turn it back on, but do a restart, because the restart does give you a cold boot where if you do shut down and turn it back on again, it usually is not a cold start, and there are things that are still saved in memory. So you want to do that for the first thing. Then you want to rule out specific file-specific issues. Sometimes the Windows search takes a long time to find a specific file or specific file type. Before moving forward with other fixes, it's essential to ensure that that's not the case. Try searching for other files or different file types to determine if the tool behaves the same way. Windows Explorer is the Windows primary means of navigating through files and folders. Since Windows Explorer also provides the taskbar a graphic user interface, an issue with the Windows Explorer can also slow down Windows search. Therefore, a fresh start has a good chance of resolving the problem. To do that, go to the Start button and Task Manager, locate the Windows Explorer in the list of running processes, right-click on Windows Explorer and select Restart. And this is what it means to do. And you can test the search host.exe process. The search host.exe process is responsible for making Windows search work. When you run a search in the Windows search tool, the search host process fires up and does its job. When you leave it, it automatically suspends itself to save resources. As such, if there's a delay when booting up or shutting down the search host service, it causes laggy Windows search. Follow these steps to test the search's behavior. Go to the Task Manager, go to Details, go to Search Host.exe process, ensure the Task Manager is positioned to the extreme left, and keep an eye on the service. So this is what they're talking about. Now, how do you search? In Windows 11, you go to the search button down here, and then you type in something, let's say CFCS, and then press enter. It gives you some things, but it gives you others, and it doesn't give you everything. It's not a really robust search by any means. In Windows 10, it's the Cortana box is where you put your search in, and again, it may not find all the things you're looking for. And it takes a while for new items to show up in it, especially if you're adding a whole bunch of new files, you're doing a lot of changes and work and so on. Sometimes it doesn't work as quick as you would like it to be. So I have mentioned almost every month on this meeting that I use a program, and I'm going to bring it up here, called Everything. As soon as I open it up, it's searched. So all I have to, so now it's showing me everything. It's showing that I have 1,942 files. You can see it down here in the corner, I hope, with 129, and it just jumped to 130, and then it's changing because it's the temporary files are being deleted or adding and so on. But if I look for CFCS this way, let's see. I see everything, and you can see that it found 1,531 objects that quick. And what I like to do is, a lot of times, is when I add a new file and I can't remember where it is, if I do a date modified, well, here's something that I changed this morning. Well, this is the link, but here's a Excel spreadsheet. There's some Excel spreadsheets here that I worked on the 7th. I can find them right away. Now, I can move my mouse over here and then right mouse click, and I can say open path, and it will take me right to that file or to where it is. Or I can tell it I can double click it. I'm not going to do it because then it's got to open up Excel and so on. But if I double click it, it will open up the file as well. And I can search by date modified, size, path, and name. But I can also search, I can say just all I want to, this right now is set to search everything. I can say just executable files, or just document files, or just compressed, which are zip files, or just folders, or just pictures, or just videos, to narrow down that that search. And under help, everything website, just to show you what their website is. Here is the website itself. And I will put that in the chat box. Everything is, somebody asks, is it free? And it absolutely is. And the one that you probably want to download, and depend upon your system, would be the download installer 64-bit. Most of you, if you have recent Windows machines, you want the 64-bit version. But you can also get the portable version, either the 32-bit or the 64-bit, and then just run it without installing it if you want. But I found that having it installed doesn't hurt anything, and it's so quick, and it's there. So I do highly recommend it. And I just put the link to where you can download it. I didn't put it in my notes, so I apologize. I didn't think about it. Okay. Next item is 14 ways to make Windows 10 faster and improve performance. Well, let's go ahead and look at it through this. The main focus areas to make Windows 10 faster. The Windows 10 operating system speed tweaks. Turn on the game mode. Now, you would think you'd want to turn the game mode off, but they're suggesting you turn it on to make your computer faster. So why? The latest version of Windows 10, the creators update, adds a new feature known as game mode. There's no way to perpetually run in game mode, unfortunately, but you can activate it by pressing the Windows key in G. However, you must first enable the game mode. To enable the game mode, if it's only available in Windows, it's only available in Windows 10 Creators Update. Well, this was an older article. Let me look and see what the date of this was. Well, it was a year ago. So it should be available now on yours. You can activate it by pressing the Windows key in G. Now, I looked at it, and we're going to look at it here in just a second. I wanted to see whether I needed to turn it on or off. But one of the things, when you do have to, unfortunately, game mode only improves gaming and performance by a few percentage points. It's only supposed to be used for games, but you can activate it whenever you need to get a little burst of speed. It's particularly useful if you have a lot of background apps that are dragging down a resource-intensive program. But in Windows 11, let's see, it will tell us here how to get the game mode. And you turn on game mode. Well, if I hit the Windows key in G, come on. Oh, it put something up here. Okay, so I can't, that's not, I want to probably get to it from the settings is better to show you, because I already checked it earlier. And gaming in game mode. Now you'll notice in my Windows 11, game mode is on and it stays on. So if you're using Windows 11, you might want to double check. Now, when I went to try to change it, let's see, move this out of my camera's right on top of it. More about game mode. There's more information here. It's supposed to be if you're using it with your Xbox programs and so on. But if you go to turn it off, let's go ahead and we'll shut that. And under settings, if I try to change it, Whoops, I clicked on the wrong thing. It's going to open that window again. All right. Back to settings. If I go to turn it off, no, it did tell me that it has something to do with some other things that you may have to turn on or off. Just be careful. But that's where you find it. You can turn off visual effects. You can adjust for best performance. Let's see where we find these. Let's see, turn off visual effects. Go to System and Advanced and Performance. Okay, so we'll go here. System. Yeah, I found it earlier and I can't remember where it is now. But anyway, we'll come back over here. You go to System, Advanced, System Settings, choose Advanced from the tabs above. So it's going to be here. And you're going to adjust for best performance. And there's several things that you can click on, but just tell it to adjust for best performance. You can speed up your processor. There's some ways to do that in the article. Turn off your auto starting programs. That's a big thing, and I just did a video on that, on programs that you probably need to uninstall or turn off, and then you also need to look at your auto starting programs. And one place where you can see where they are is, again, in Settings. We're going to go to Apps. And then where you want to go to is, let's see, Startup. And then you give it a few seconds for it to load all of your apps, and you'll see that I have a lot of apps. Well, some are turned on. That means when I turn on my computer, all of these that have the blue switch turned on start up when I start my Windows computer. And I went through it recently and turned off a lot of things that I really either didn't know what they were and decided that, well, they're really programs I really don't need to have. And there's probably some more now I can see that I really don't need anymore to start up. But there are some that I want. And so every one of those that has the little blue switch on it starts automatically when I start my computer. And you can turn some things on, you can turn them off, you can change those around. So if you're having problems with your computer, that's one good place to start. And that is turn off the ability, these programs, it's not deleting them, it's not doing anything with them except not loading them automatically when you start your computer. So some of those programs, if I turn them off, it would just take a little bit longer when I clicked on their icon for it to load some basic information and then continue and load the program. Another place where you can speed up is you can check your internet connection. There's some analyzer tools and so on, but most of you have routers that are 5G and 2.4G. They have dual speeds. You might want to make sure that you're using the faster, the 5 gigahertz instead of the 2.4, and you're going to get better speeds. So you might want to check to make sure you're using the right internet connection for your router. Manage Windows Update for performance. So Windows Update Hogs resources when it runs in the background. You can configure it to only run at specific times. A lot of times I've noticed that when my computer's running really slow, I'll go over to my Windows Update and I'll see that it's downloading and installing the update. Well, when it finishes the install, then it's going to want me to reboot. I don't have to reboot right then, but the fact that it's using a lot of resources to do the download and do the install in the background and can make your system crawl and you don't know why. So just bear that in mind, that it could be the fact that that it's doing an update in the background. And you can tell it to change active hours. So you can set it only to do that at night and then leave your computer on overnight and go, turn the monitors off and go to sleep. Monitor if you only have one. Because that's what I do generally, is I leave the monitors, I leave the computer on, but I turn the monitors off every night. I do a backup at 11 o'clock at night automatically. And that takes about an hour and a quarter every night to back up all of my data and to the cloud. So it doesn't interfere with anything that I'm doing, because that does slow the system down. Set your internet connection to be metered. Turn off Windows 10 search indexing feature. And that's what the search indexing feature is, that everything that the built-in search and Windows actually indexes everything that's in the background. So if you turn that off and turn it back on, it's got to re-index itself. That's not just when you turn your computer off, but when you turn off the indexing and you turn off the search and you turn it back on, it wants to re-index. And the re-index, I did it a couple of years ago, and it actually took days to finish the indexing, because it has to go in and look at all of the, and what indexing means is it not only keeps track of every file that's on your computer, but it keeps some information about each one as well, so it can find it quicker and easier. You can speed up Windows with storage analyzers and disk cleaning tools. Some of you are familiar with some of those. I don't use any of them, but you can. There's some software enhancements and so on. Well, again, this is a good article, and we'll close this. We'll close the article. And that's the one we were working on. Close that. Or am I'm closing the wrong articles, aren't I? Well, I'm going to close them all and then open it back up. But in the meantime, we'll stop the share and see if there's any questions or comments. And so far, we've only got into about 3 of the articles. Jim Glass.
Yeah, does the that help app that works with Windows 10 work on Windows 11? That's a great search feature.
The help app, I'm not sure which one.
There's one that's,
go ahead.
it's called Everything, I think it is.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, it works on 10 and 11 and 7 as well.
Yeah, because that's an incredible program.
Oh, absolutely. I use it all the time. As you see, as you may have seen, that I keep it on my taskbar because I use it so much. Tom, you're next.
Where would I find to be able to turn off and turn back on the search index feature? I missed that.
Let's take a look, because I, off the top of my head, don't remember, because again, I don't use it, but let's go ahead and share my screen and share and open up. One thing about the Windows settings program is you can search and find a setting. So what we want is, let's do search, and what we want in indexing. Let's see if that, all I gotta do is learn how to type. No result on search indexing. So let's find search. Advanced Windows update options, search permissions and history. Windows update settings. View configured update policies. So when that doesn't work, what I do is, I probably can find it in that article, but I'm not sure where. And instead of what I do is, so let's see what it says here. The Windows Search Index is a handy tool. It gives you indexing, search results, and property caching for emails, files, and other types. If you're looking to boost, so let's see. Windows, this is an ad. These articles, you got to figure out what are ads and what are part of the article. If you just allow indexing for specific locations, that is going to help you speed up. So that's another problem. So we need to find out where to index, and that was your question. And click on the option to open it. And once you're in the indexing options, but it doesn't tell us where do we find that. To access the indexing option, click on the search icon and type in indexing options. So let's here.
Windows 10, it's in the control panel.
Okay, is it? Okay, well, I can't, of course,
Yeah.
can't do
You
that.
should find it that way, though.
When you say control panel.
Yeah, I did the search and it gave me a link to the control panel. It opened up indexing options. So if you search on the words indexing options, maybe that'll tell you where it is in Windows 11.
Yeah, there it is. Yep, it's in control panel. So I've got 1,116 items indexed. Let me. There we go. Okay, and indexing is complete. You can modify, you can do the advanced. Let's look at advanced. I guess you can, these are the included locations, my desktop background, Internet Explorer history, OneNote, Outlook, stamps, start menu, and users. So the whole users folder and everything in it. Okay. And you can modify it. Opens up another window where you can select locations and there's a summary of them. So you can go in and change them. So yeah, so indexing options is the search you want to do, and it's going to be in your control panel. I think that answered your question.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else with any questions? A little bit deeper than we normally go for some things, but the indexing is important because when you search, it really doesn't. It's kind of like the Google search on the web. You're not going through all of the websites and finding it. It's using a database, and that database is indexed to help it make it quicker. For those of you who aren't database experts or database users, it's how databases work and how they work quickly, as they have an indexing capability. And by doing it with everything that's already indexed, and you don't have to even wait till it indexes, it's there. But in Windows, it does have to index, and you may not have included it with what it's indexing. So it may never find a file that is there, and it may not find it because it wasn't in the database listings of what you're trying to find.
Yeah, you can also find files that aren't there as well, that you deleted a while back.
Yeah, that and sometimes you may have some hidden files it doesn't find, and you may have some hidden files it does find. So, okay, so let's go ahead and back to share screen. How am I doing on time? I'm eating it up pretty good. Okay, and Mike has added in the chat box, why turn indexing off. This site has information, and he's put a link for it. Marilyn has said, so do you keep Windows off indexing? I just don't touch it. It still does the indexing. As you saw, I've got over 1 million files that are indexed. It just does it. If I add new files, it automatically takes care of that. But everything is what I use when I go to look for it. But you saw that I did go into the search to find the indexing, and so there are some times where I use it as well. And there's a reference for game mode that Mike put in as well. So good. I appreciate Mike adding those things. So we need to reload all of the websites that I'm covering. And I do that with multiple URLs and tell it to open them all. And let's see, I think this one we covered. So I'll close it. We covered that. How to enable and find your Windows Bootlog. Yeah, this was the one I had trouble with. I don't have it turned on. I don't have it enabled. And to enable it, it said that I have to, let's find the article here. Let's close this. When troubleshooting problems with your computer, it's useful to have such system information as possible. There are several ways to generate information about what is going on underneath the hood. And here's how to enable the boot log and where to find it in your computer. The boot log or system initialization log is a text file that can be generated during your computer's boot sequence. It contains a list of all the drivers that are loaded during boot, as well as any expected drivers that are not loaded. The boot log feature is disabled by default. There are 2 ways to enable or disable the boot log, both of which are explored below. Because you are making changes in an important part of Windows, both methods require you to be signed in as administrator, and if you do not have elevated privileges, you won't be able to be permitted. This is what a boot log looks like. I am not going to be able to get to it because there's so many ads on these pages. How to enable the boot log with msconfig. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to do a Windows and R, and then you type in msconfig and you click OK. And then you're going to go to the boot section. And when you do, what you're going to do is turn on boot log. But when I click on that, if I say OK or apply, it's going to want to do some things that I don't want to do. And let's see if it tells us in here. It says, select the boot tab and then the boot log options and then click apply. And there's what I was talking about and what I showed, much larger. You will be prompted to restart your computer. Doing so will immediately generate the boot log. You can exit without restarting it. But one of the things, when I started to do that, it wants to do something with BitLocker, and I don't play around with BitLocker. If it's there, it's doing its thing, and I don't touch it, and I don't want to touch it. So I didn't go ahead and turn on the boot log. If it's something you want to play with, you may have to turn BitLocker off if you have it. BitLocker is, I think, only in the professional version of Windows. It's not in the home version, and so you may not even be bothered with it on your computer. But you're going to find BitLocker drive encryption. It's some encryption, and I don't want to turn it off. I don't want to play with it. So I didn't create the boot log to show you what it would look like. If BitLocker is enabled, you will see a message when you apply the boot settings changes in MS-config. The message will remind you that when you restart after making changes to boot settings, your computer will enter recovery mode. You will be required to enter a BitLocker recovery key or recovery password to continue startup. And I don't know exactly what that password would be, and so I decided not to get into it when I was playing with this. So again, there's more information on it and what you can do and how to do things. I think it's probably more than most of us want to get into, but I did want to cover the boot log. And one of the reasons I wanted to cover it is the fact that when some of these pop-ups come up and it says your computer is infected, call this number, and people call it and they want to come in and look at your computer, they'll go in and they'll look at certain files that are there by default. And every time you start your computer up and every time you run, there's certain things that don't run right all the time, and it's highlighted in red. And they're going to show you these things and scare you and say your computer is infected and this isn't working right and that isn't working right. See that in red? That means that's bad, and so on. And these are things that are normal, when you're running Windows, but they'll make it look like they need to go in and fix something, and they're going to charge you $300 and some odd dollars. Plus, they're inside your computer already, so you don't know what they're going to be doing while they're there. So just one of the things to be very careful of, and don't let them scare you. Sometimes, to change the subject again, well, let me stop share for just a moment. See if there's any questions or comments. We got a couple people in waiting here.
I will mention on the Windows indexing, the article that I posted is really quite good. A lot of things that I've forgotten. And although there's a control panel entry for it, they're saying if you go to drive properties and you actually go to the drives, there'll be a checkbox that says allow files on this drive to have contents indexed. So I had forgotten that was there too. So if you have, like in my case, I have one small SSD dedicated just to my temporary files. No need to have that indexed. So when I'm finished here, I'm going to go to the settings for that drive and uncheck allow it to be indexed.
Good idea. Okay, anybody else with comments, questions?
Is there a way to turn off the content indexing globally?
Yeah, if it's on one of those drives and you uncheck it, then nothing on that drive will be indexed.
Yeah, but then you have to do it individually for each drive. There's no way to turn it off completely so that it doesn't include searching inside the file on content. You can't set it to just find files.
There might be an advanced capability under the system to look at what's actually running and look for an indexing service under the services.
David, what you're asking, can you turn off specific folders and so on? Yes.
But if he's saying shut everything off, don't index anything, period, and only have one place to do it, you might be able to go to your services menu and find the indexing service and tell it not to start when Windows reboots.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up.
Okay, let's go back here. How to force delete a folder on Windows 10 and 11. This has happened to me sometimes where you've worked on a folder, you've done some things and you've moved some files out of it, and the rest of it you don't want anymore, and you want to delete it, and it won't delete. You can't delete that folder. Some of the reasons you can't delete a folder on Windows. Let me go ahead and open this. Can't make that bigger. Okay. Are you having trouble deleting a folder from your Windows 10 or Windows 11 PC? If so, that may be because the system It might be a system folder or a folder being used by other apps. We'll show you how to successfully delete undeletable folders on your computer. Be careful. There might be a reason it doesn't want you to delete it because it's using something that you want to delete. And you may not really want to delete it. But reasons you can't delete a folder on Windows, the most common reason is that your folder is a Windows system folder. In this case, the system prevents you from removing the folder as it can make your PC unstable. If you're sure yours is not a system folder, then your undeletable folder may be in use by your installed apps. When a folder is being used by an app, Windows prevents you from making changes to that folder. In this case, you can close the app using your folder and then try to delete the folder. But even that, if your case doesn't match either of the above scenarios, you may want to use one of the following methods to force remove it. And I've done that where I try to delete a folder. It was in use by a program. I shut the program off, but something was still holding on to a file in that folder and it wouldn't let me do it. So what you do is you run the start menu and search for command prompt or Control R. Then on the right pane, click Run as Administrator. And you see that there. You'll see a user account control prompt and select Yes. When the command prompt opens, type the following command, and it's rmdir, which is remove directory, space /s space /q space, and then the word path in caps. If your path has spaces in it, enclose, whatever your path is you're trying to, it's not the word path, but the actual path of what you're trying to do. And you'll see that in the, you'll see that just below. The command permanently deletes your folder, so make sure you really want to do it. And there is an example of what we're talking about. The specific folder is now removed from your Windows PC and you're all set. And you can also boot, and this is what I have done in the past, is when I can't get a folder to delete, I'll boot in safe mode and then delete the folder. So if you aren't sure what app has hijacked your folder so you can't delete it, reboot your PC in safe mode and then try to delete the folder. In safe mode, your PC only loads the essential Windows files, preventing any third-party apps from automatically launching. To use this method, first boot your Windows 10 or Windows 10 11 PC in safe mode using a guide that they give you, and then go ahead and delete it. And then there's some third-party software as well that you can get to do that. Okay, the next item here. Let's see, tips and techniques 2. His page has so many ads, it's so hard to figure out what's part of the article and what isn't. But in this version, open minimize windows can be arranged in several new ways in Windows 11. Using several different methods. Give each of the tips below a try. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Let's do it this way. Okay, moving windows in version 11. In this version, open and minimize windows can be arranged, and that doesn't mean the operating system. That means the individual windows that you have open on your desktop. And Alt Tab. If you don't use Alt Tab and aren't familiar with it, let's see. I've got several things open here. So if I Alt Tab and I keep the Alt button down, okay, so I hold the Alt button down, hit Tab once in Windows 11. These are all windows that are open on my computer. Notice this one has a line around it. If I hit Tab again, it goes to the next one. Hit Tab again, it goes to the next. So sometimes when you, especially sometimes with Zoom, sometimes with other programs, you open something and it hides a window and you can't get to that window, do the Alt Tab and just keep moving until you find the thing that you're looking for. And then just release it. So let's come back here and let go, and it brings me to that particular window. Now, also with Windows, and this article goes to tell you that you can resize your windows. I'm going to close this because I'm just going to show you. You can resize windows. So I've got this one window. If I want to resize it, you go to a corner or you go to the top and see where you got the double arrow, and over in the corner, top right-hand corner, and you just click and drag it. You can change the size of the window to whatever you want. But in Windows 11, something else that you can do is if you hold your mouse over this button over here, that's normally your minimize and maximize button, it gives you different ways to have your screen. So let's say I want 4 quarter panels, and in this particular one that I'm looking at, I want it in the top left. So it does that, and then it says, okay, what do you want on the other ones? Okay, I want everything in this one. And what do I want in here? Well, we'll do the cover here, and then we'll do this window here. Well, it didn't do that. So let's open something here. But anyway, you can see that, and then you can move them around. If you move it around, well, so as I moved it, it brought it back to the size I had it. So again, I can come back and go with a quarter panel. I can move this. Let's see, we'll go ahead and this one, and then this one, and then this one. There we go. So you can do it that way. And then if you want, you can make it so these two are smaller than that. Now, what will be a practical way to do this? Well, sometimes when I'm in, let's see, I want to bring this back. There we go. Sometimes when I'm in a window, I'm sorry, I'm not thinking and I'm talking. Sometimes when I'm in my Outlook and I need to send out several of the same emails, and I don't want to do it to everybody at one time because it's going to be too many and the system won't handle it and it won't let me do it. So I like to make maybe 75 at a time. So what I'll do is I'll open up my Outlook and then tell it, okay, I want 4 new, create 4 messages. And I put all 4 in the 4 boxes, and then I copy and paste the information to each one. And then I copy the blind carbon copy into one, then into a different list, into the second, into the third, into the fourth, and then I send each of them out, and it's done, and it's very nice and simple to do. And on that note, I am going to stop my share and see if there's any questions. We only have a few minutes left. I'll come back and see if there's one of the articles that I might cover quickly, but to see if there's any comments or questions. Yeah, I think you can see the value of making 4 windows on your screen for different things. Sometimes where I've had I've had an article that I'm reading and an article that I want to copy and paste some items into. By having them side by side makes it very nice. And with this new system, that it's just so easy to do. Steve.
In Windows 10, there is a utility called Window Manager that can do what you just did in Windows 11, and it doesn't in 10.
Windows Manager, and that's built into Windows, or is it a third party?
It's a third-party utility you have to download. It's a free utility.
Okay, it's free though. Okay.
It does quite a lot more extensively than what Windows 11 can do, but it's built into Windows 11, and Windows 10 you have to download the utility program to do it.
Okay, but it's another reason that if you want that feature and you're hesitant on going to Windows 11, this might be something that'll push you over and have you do Windows 11. Okay, let me share the screen one more time. Let's see if there's any of the other articles. Let's go back here. And what I want to do here is I want to go to QE.net and WinSIG. See if there's any of these other articles. This was an interesting article to read. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but does Windows 10 or 11 need antivirus software? Believe it or not, it's a file it's in the blog for the McAfee website, and they have some pretty good articles. This was a good article, and if you read through it, it gives you some compelling reasons, but why you don't need it, but they do say at the end that it's a good idea. But it tells you how to check if Windows Defender is on, and do you need anything else, and then 4 features you want in an antivirus software, compatibility across operating systems, and then of course in the it does tell you additional features beyond antivirus software, and it tells you, VPN, identity monitoring, protection score, and so on, and then personalized protection for your digital life. And of course, they recommend McAfee because it's their blog, but you could basically put in any antivirus program in there and say, okay, I'm going to add it. But you really should use the Windows Defender as well. Windows Defender is one of those programs that allows you to have an antivirus, anti-malware program along with it. And let's see what else here. Is anything else? There's a lot of new things coming in 22H2. We'll be covering those in the coming months, so I don't need to do, we're not going to have time to do that today. We will be covering now what is 22H2. It's the, if you remember, Windows is going to have 2 major updates a year. They do have in between updates for security reasons and a few other things, but each of the updates during the year that they have, the 2 major ones, they add new features, they make some big changes and so on. And the second half of the 22 version of Windows 11 should be sometime in September or October that it will be released. It's what I understand, it's pretty much done, but they're still testing some things and so on, and it won't be actually released for us to download and install until the fall. But it's something that you will want to, we will be talking about prior to that. So when it comes time for it, if you want to do the update, and you should if you're running Windows 11, that you'll be able to utilize and see what the new features are. And if you remember, I mentioned that there are 10 startup programs. Let's just look at that article quickly. 10 startup programs you can safely disable to speed Windows up. This article has some interesting items. And from that, I took some of them and I created a YouTube. I did a YouTube on cleaning Windows without Windex, or I showed you what programs should be disabled or uninstalled, and take a look at that video. I'm not going to click on it because it will start the video, but there is a link to it and it'll take you to the video on my channel. And on that note, I am going to minimize this. And this has been the Central Florida Computer Society's Windows Special Interest Group, or WinSIG, for July 10th, 2022. I'm Huey Poplock.